Okay, so I'm working on coming up with the perfect book sleeve. So I bought some patterns from different people on Etsy. I followed lots of YouTube videos on how to do this, and there's a couple of different ways to do it. Well, a few different ways. And then there's different closures. So for the closure, so I made this one, and this is my Halloween collection, and I made this one here. So this one here, the closure is an elastic circle like this, and then with a button. So choose a button, and then putting this in there, and this goes in between the lining and the front there. Now this one I have my dot journal in, so it's a perfect fit for that. I would like to have had it just a little bit bigger because I would like to put my pack of pens that I use for journaling right in there because I use different colors. I do color coding in my journal. So I would like to have, it will fit there, but then this, I don't know if this is going to be, yeah, I guess you could fit something like that in there. Let me go grab my little case real quick. So when I'm traveling about with the grandkids or traveling or going on airplanes and stuff, and then this is the pack that I bring with me, and I just stick, let me see if this will close. I think it'll be fine. Yeah, that looks like it's going to end up being fine. So that would work. Okay, that's good. So let's measure this one here. Now, when you start with whatever measurements they are, you have to remember they're going to be smaller than the measurement. Now, book sleeves don't have the boxed corners. All right. Now, if you're going into making a Bible sleeve and things like that, then you're going to have to make these much wider, which means you're going to need to have the box sleeve, a box cut there. So this one is 7 by, let's do it this way, by about 9.5. So that is what people consider a medium. Wow, I wouldn't want a small one. Okay, so I would consider this a small one, but this is considered a medium one. Now this one I did white quilt stitching, and the rest I'm doing in black. I didn't quite like the white stitching. And the inside is another Halloween fabric. The problem is with that is unless I make it reversible, which it's not, there's really no use for this to be in the inside because you're never going to really see it. Actually, you could probably reverse this. You just wouldn't have the closure. You could reverse it, but you just wouldn't have the closure there. So that's considered, okay, so that's considered a medium. So I guess they're talking about putting smaller paperbacks in the small, and I know that your small Kindles will fit in the small ones when you get the thing. Now, let's see here. So that's that one. Now, so what I'm changing over to, well, let's first measure this one. So this is another one. Now this one is larger, of course, a lot bigger, and this one fits a book that goes in this way. So it's not going in this way, it's going in this way, right? So this one, and then this one has a closure, and I like this one because it has room at the top here. I like that room. I like that it doesn't go all the way up. Now, some people may not like that, but I like it because it's kind of a nicer close there. So this one, let's measure this one. I have to come up with the sizes that I want to do and sell. So, and I'm doing this really fun Halloween collection. So this is a 9.5 by 11. 9.5 by 11. So if it was this way, then it would be, yeah. So if it was this way, it would be, well, it's 10, really. So we'll just say 10 by 11. And that is considered a large. Most larges are around 11 by 8. Let me see what this other lady had on hers. She had 11 by 8. Yeah, so most of the larges are the 11 by 8. Extra large is 11. So this is considered a large this way. It's also considered a large this way, but I would rather have it this way. Let me know in the comments if you like to put your books in on the spine or up and down. I don't know. It depends, I guess, on what you want. So like if it was for a Bible, I would want to put the book in this way. For my journal, I'm not sure I want to do that because, yeah, I don't want to put my journal in that way because I have papers and I don't know. I just feel better like this one. So this size is great. I think this is going to be a good size. It fits the dot journal very well. So I like that. And now we know it'll fit my pens. So this one I totally like, that size. And that was the medium one, right? 9.5, yeah. And this was not 2.5. Let's see how deep this actually goes on these. So they're about 1.5 inches deep, which is the right amount for the mediums are about 2 inches deep. So that's for a Bible, but this is not for a Bible. This is a book sleeve. The Bible sleeves are thicker. They have more of a box close. All right, so then this one, I probably should make them, well, let me know, should I make them this way or should I make them this way? All right, then now I'm making another one here, and this one is going to be, so I've just been practicing right now to develop the kind that I really want to do. This is 10, but it's going to be smaller than that, right? So it's going to be 10 by 12, so it's going to be 9 wide. Yeah, it's going to be 9 wide, and it's going to be about 11 high. So that's a large. This will be considered a large. And if I end up doing, it's a little bit wider. And let me see. So then these are going to be the lining. I'm going to add my interfacing to the lining to make it better. These, and I just went, so on Michael's, they had a sale for black, broadcloth, a black broadcloth for, if you buy the whole bolt of 20 yards, it was $1.84 a yard or something like that. So it was like one price for the whole bolt. So I bought the bolt. This is black solids and broadcloths, 20 yards, 44 inches wide, right? So this one is, let me see what else. Does it say anything else here? It's not giving me, it's, 82% polyester, 18% cotton, which is perfect for me because I don't want the wrinkles. I don't like it wrinkling up. So we'll apply the interfacing. When you're doing the interfacing, you want to use this rough edge. That's the glue part. So when you put that on there, this should be pretty perfect because we want to have the seam allowance and everything. This is just going to give the, if someone does put a Kindle in there, then it's going to protect it a little bit more. Or maybe they have a small iPad or something that they might want to put in there. So what we're going to do here on this one, we're going to put glue the interfacing or heat the interfacing with the iron, put that in. Then what we're going to do is we're going to leave an opening here and here. Now in this method, these are already quilted, as you can see. It's hard to see. I did them in black and, here. This one here, the difference. So I did these in black as well. So on the purple fabric, I'll be using the black and then black on everything else. This is a glittery spider web. It's really pretty. So I got this from Marshall's Dry Goods. So anyway, this one, and then this method, I'm going to put this here to have the one that's going to come over. So it's going to come over. And then there's two ways you can do this. You can make it just like a tote bag where you sew this piece and then sew this piece like so. Now this one, you're going to sew all around here, and all across here. You're going to leave the top open, but that's one way to do it. And then you would do the same with this, but there's a little shortcut you can use. And that is that you can, make it all continuous. So it would just keep going. I'll show you on the sewing machine when I do it. And then you sew the whole thing. You're going to sew this here and open it. And then, anyway, it's kind of hard to explain. I'll show you on the when I pin it all to. Let me first I'll put the interfacing on, and then we'll just put it all together. So I'm keeping my notes here. I have this really cute book that I love, that I bought a whole bunch of these from Temu, and I'm writing down all the notes that I'm taking on making the different book sleeves, what I'm learning, and what I like and what I don't like. So I do love this closure. That's a really good one. Another one is using a snap, which I might try to do some of those, but I like these because I want to do some charms, and I want to be able to hang the charm here on the button. So that way it kind of hangs there. So that's what I want to do there. The other way is making let's just pretend this is a piece of fabric. And here is your book sleeve. So the other way that they do, so they also have ones with the bows, the ribbons, and I don't like those because your hand is always opening and closing these, and they're going to get really dirty. And not only that, but they're going to really interfere with you being able to put your books in and out. So I just don't really like that idea. But you could make, one of the things we might make is a snap closure. So that's the length of the book, or they also make them like this, skinnier ones with a pretty shape, and then you would snap it here and snap it in the back, or it would be sewn in here. It would be just sewn on this side, right? Well, you know what I mean. And then it would come all the way over, and you could snap it closed there, and that way the books would be totally protected. So we can try the different methods and see which ones look the nicest. You would have to decide, especially when you're using designs like this, like, is this going to take, if I did plain black, would that take away from the spiders, or should I do, or should it be spider over spider? And I like the spider over the web over the web. I like that. And then I have some pretty black. Actually, we could even though it's going to be finished, we could even add a decorative strip of black ribbon there. That would make it look nice. So there's lots of things that we can discover and do as we're coming up with the perfect pattern to do these, what people are going to like and what they're going to want to buy. And then the other thing is these ones I quilted, and this one I quilted. Well, there's one I didn't quilt. Where's the one I did? There's one that, oh no, this one here. So this one is not, I did not put batting in this one. I used foam. So there's a foam that you can buy. Now I forgot what it's called. But there's a foam that you can buy. Let me just grab it no, it doesn't have the name on it. So, oh yes, it does. Soft and Stable, it's called. So it's an original foam stabilizer. Actually, let me get it so I can show it to you. I'll be right back, because it's just right around my island. It'll only take me a second to get over here and come back and show you. So I bought this. I bought this from Amazon. I couldn't find it anywhere else. It's the original foam stabilizer by Annie's. Now I can go to Annie's website, and I didn't know that until I got it, of course. And they use this a lot in purses and bags. And this is what it looks like. It comes in a big piece. Let's see, does it tell us how many? Yeah, 36 by 58. And this is what it looks like. So when I first saw people using this, I thought, oh, that's kind of tacky because it looks so cheap on YouTube, but it is really nice. It's super sturdy. It's very nice feeling. It's it's not cheap at all. And it wasn't cheap to buy either. I think I paid like $23 or something for this piece. So, you have to factor that into the products you make. So I'm going to make some, I think the batting is a lot less, but the batting takes more time because you have to use the batting, you really need to use quilt. You really need to quilt. But to use the stabilizer, I've seen a lot of people, they don't quilt they just use the padding. So they don't always, so we can experiment and see. I think those will take me a lot faster to do with the foam stabilizer instead of having to quilt every single piece. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. I'll be back. I'm not going to take my camera over there because my ironing station is in a different location. Then I'll set up the phone over there. My phone, obviously, because that's what I film from, my phone over at the sewing machine, and then we can go on from there. Okay, so now I have ironed the interfacing onto these inner fabrics. So I'm going to set this aside and we're going to find the middle. There's a couple ways I like to do this. So we're going to take the fabric, fold it in half, and then what I like to do is just make a tiny little snip, just like that, so that when we open it, we can see the tiny little snip there, and that's my center. So that's where we want to put this. Now with this one, what I want to do is this side here is going to be what goes over like this, over to the button. This piece here has to go inside to make sure, to give it some strength. So this part here being sewn into the lining and back here and all that is going to make that so that this is stronger. Now you can make it whatever size you want, but I want it to be a little bit longer on the part that's going to pull over to the button. I don't do quite half and half. It's just a little bit longer. The other thing is if you have, so like this is a hair tie, and if you have an end where they've glued the hair tie together, that you don't want to be a part of this part. You want that to go into the part that you don't see because you want to strengthen that piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of pins and I'm going to pin this as best I can. It's hard to go through this and I don't see. It's also hard for me to see in the camera like this too. That's not going to work. So so I go back to the middle here. And a lot of times you can just like squeeze it together here. But you do want to get that pinned in a little bit, just to keep it in place there. Now when I go to sew it, now it's not squishy enough. You want it squished together more. So I'm just going to go back over here. And maybe I'll do 2 pins. Maybe that'll work better. Yeah, I think that's what I'll have to do. So I'm going to put 1 pin here. Yeah, and go through this there. And then the other pin, oops, now it's 2, it's not, shoot, see? So it's a little bit, you got to get faster at this if you're going to make these for your shop. But I think what I'm going to do here is just take them. Nope, that won't work either. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. I'm going to try, let me try just to use my clip for right now. Hopefully that can stay there. What I will do, what I think is the best thing, is just to go over and baste that real quick. And I'll be right back. All right, so we have that basted in. That was a lot easier, not to worry about the pins. Just go over there, and then where you have that little clip, that's the easiest way I can figure out how to do this. Fighting with those pins is just a pain. So then now what you're going to do is you're going to take one of the interfacings, and we're just going to clip this. We're going to sew on top. So this is different than when you're doing the tote bags where you're flipping them. So we're still going to have to, put this inside out later. But this is a really fast way to do this. I've seen a lot of videos where they're following the same method when you're making a tote bag, but because you don't need the box corners here, you're not going to have to worry about the flow of the project. So we'll put that one there. Take the back side, same again, putting right sides together. And we are going to pin this. I am going to take this over to the machine. I'm going to sew right here, and then I'm going to sew right there. And then I'll come back and show you the next steps. What we're going to do though, after we sew, is we are going to come back. Whoops, this is not even. We're going to come back and straighten this out, because I noticed in one of mine, actually let's do it this way where we're pinning on both sides of this little guy. I noticed that there was a little a little bit of a crooked part. So I'm gonna go take these to the machine. I'm gonna sew the tops, and then I'll come back and we'll go to the next step. And then hopefully by that time I should be able to set up my camera over at my machine, and then I can show you how we're going to sew the next parts. Okay, so now we have this sewed. So what I did, and then I took my pinking shears. I opened up the seam here. First I did some pinking shear thing here just to keep it really, you know, better, stronger. And then I folded it over, and I made sure that this part here was down really well, and then I ironed that. So I pressed all that really good, and same with this one. So now this is going to become that the closure. So now we have these two pieces. Now I'm going to show you a little thing to make this go a lot faster. First of all, what's really nice about this method is that your top is already ready basically to be top sewed. You don't have the bunching that you do when you make tote bags. So what happens when you're making a tote bag a lot of times is you're putting that lining back inside, right? Well, this is a different method, and this speeds up the process a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this one, and then I'm going to open this one, and we're going to actually put the right sides, of course, together. And then we're going to take this and we're going to put the right side on this one. Line all of this up. See, like this. So this is all lined up. This is all lined up. See that? So what we're going to do here is we're going to sew all the way. We're going to sew all the way around. We don't have to worry about the closure because it's stuck in there now, right? So we're going to sew all the way around everywhere. But over here, down here, we're going to make a little spot where we're going to open it in the lining. And make sure that these are perfectly aligned. Yep. Okay, now I'm going to take, I like to use my clips, but I'm going to take my pins to mark the place so I don't forget, because I've done that before, not to sew here. So this is going to be my opening, in the lining. And I'm going to make it about this big. And then we'll just top stitch this closed at the end. This is just reminding me that I don't want to sew past this point. Let me get my clips, and it's one more thing we have to do before we sew that together. So on this part here, I see a little bit of crookedness right here. So I'm going to turn this over, make sure that these are all lined up. Very good, lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this part here. Clip it at the end there. All right, and then I've been sewing so long that I don't need that many pins or clips. And then I'm going to take this part here, make sure that these two line up, but I see a little bit of, I don't like that right there, so I'm going to trim this. Whoops. I'm going to trim this part off just right there because kind of, okay, whoops. So then over here, I'm going to clip this here. Now, I am going to look at this part here, and you see how this is coming out here? And if I turn it over, you can see there's a little tiny bit. So I'm going to just take my scissors and just trim this just slightly, so that when I do my seams, they're going to be more even. Oops. There's a little piece there too that needs to come off. So now I want to make sure that this is all lined up. See, here's another piece that I'm afraid I'm gonna not sew, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to sew, like I'll follow that line probably. Over here I don't have a line to follow. So I'm going to clip this here, and clip this here, and I'm going to go in the middle here too. So just might as well put one in the middle and one in the middle here. Okay, now I want to make sure again, so this is like nice and open there. I want to make sure again that these are now going to be even. I don't want it crooked. So I want to make this sure that this seam is on. See how those go? You want to make sure that those seams are aligned right there. But I can feel that they're not quite, so I'm going to turn it over and I see where the problem is. See that right there? So I just need to trim that. Let's just trim that off there. Now that should line up good there. This part here, let's make sure that this side, yeah, we have the same problem over here. No, this is fine. Just make sure that these are aligned. I think it's just the, nope, there's a tiny piece there that's single. So I'm just gonna come in here, just a tiny bit there. Okay, so now I just have to remember that I'm gonna come back down with that stitch. So what I'm gonna do over here, make sure that these are open. So there's no right or wrong way to do your seam. So because I make clothing and dresses, for so many years I made so many clothing, what most people do when they're seamstresses and sew clothes is you always open all your seams. When you're sewing, when you're doing quilting or you're doing blankets and more project based, a lot of times you'll go this way for one, and then they'll take this and go the other way for the other. So, but I like to have them open for less bulk. But either way is correct. It doesn't matter. Now on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure that these are lined up nicely. Get a clip. I'm going to clip that there. And then I just have to remember that when I'm on this side here, I need to keep going right there along that stitch to make sure I stay straight. So now I'll put a couple of clips here, one in the middle. I'm going to put one right about there only because of that issue there, and then one at the end. Same thing on the other side. We'll take this, we'll put one in the middle, put one right past the seam there just to make sure I stay on the line, and then one at the end. Okay, so and then we're going to remember to not stitch between these two things. Actually, yeah, that should be fine. Well, actually, let me just put a clip there just so there. Probably put one clip there. Now I'm going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew. We're going to start, and where I'm going to start doesn't matter where you start. So I'm probably going to start on the lining, because if any kind of give happens with the fabric, then it'll be in the lining, which won't be noticeable. So I'm going to start right here where this, I'm going to start here where the new opening is. I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to sew here, stop, turn my foot, and then I'm going to sew up here, and then I'm going to sew up here. I'm going to come around here, then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to come down here and come up here, back stitch, go back, and then that will be that, and then we're going to turn it. So I'm going to go set up my phone over at the sewing machine so we can continue see how we sew this together. Okay, so here we're starting at that first place where right at the place where I'm going to turn the lining. So what we're going to do is do a little back stitch there. When I come to the end here, I'm going to do another back stitch just to make sure that the lining stays strong when you're carrying books around and things like that. So we'll just do a little bit right there. Now we're gonna go back forward. And now here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my needle down, lift my presser foot, turn everything around. Whoa, I just dropped something that was important. I'll go, hopefully I remember to get it. Got it, sorry. Got my supplements I have to take before I go to sleep, and one of them rolled off. I didn't put them, that's just there to remind me to take my vitamins. Okay, so then I'm just gonna put this back down again, and then we'll continue to stitch around. Now we're coming up to the place we want to make sure that it's absolutely perfect here, or as perfect as possible. So the way that I do this is I'm going to hold this piece down with my finger, with this finger, and I'm just going to go slowly and making sure that that needle is going through and keeping it all flat. That seam allowance there. Okay, and then we're going to continue. And this is the part that gets tricky sometimes, because with this, you've got to come in here, lift up the foot, move this stuff, the quilting batting out of the way. That happens from time to time. Ow. So there, oops, I think I might have just broke yep, I just broke my needle. So we got to change that. I put my finger too close. So we're going to have to change the needle. And I got to find the needle that's stuck in there too. That's why you don't put your finger that close, all right? And my finger way too close. Here's the needle that I just broke. So for this one, oh, there it is. Just broke that head off. So what I'm gonna do here, so I'll just clip this right here. We'll take this, fancy there. Take out the needle, throw that away. I'll put it on the side here. And I think I'll use my universal this time. Let me see, my universals, yeah. These are a little bit better for this kind of fabric. So these are, no, that's too, I don't want that size. Let me see what I have. By the way, the best place, here's a 10. The best place to buy these is from Wallback. You get super, super good deals there. I buy an entire pack of Schmetz needles for $2.85. So let me take out a needle. Let's put this in here. And my eyes are not so great these days, but I can still thread a needle. Now, again, like I said in my sewing video, when I was sewing the tote bag, I was explaining to you that my Bernina machine here has a threader, but I don't know, an automatic threader. And when I went, they teach you, you get to go to free classes on how to use your machine. And this Bernina store where I bought my machine is like really close to my house. Like it's less than a 5-minute drive. So it's pretty cool. And then what happened is though that I went to the class and we went through everything, and I've never used like this computerized type of a sewing machine, because I had a white from the 80s and it just broke not even a year ago. After all these years, I think I bought it in 1985 or 6. It lasted all that time. Sewed so many clothes with it. So this is my problem, is with threading this. And so there is a way to do this with the Bernina, but I forgot how to do it. And I haven't taken the time to go back and practice. So I should go back to, they said I can come back to as many of those classes as I want to. See, even with my glasses on, it's super hard to thread the needle for me. And sometimes I get it like on the first try, and sometimes I don't. And I'm not getting it maybe because I'm not nervous or anything filming, but it's just, there we go. All right, there we go. All right. Well, I won't be putting it almost went through my finger. That would have been fun on the video, right? Okay, let's go back here. Make sure I got this nice and flat. See, most people would just edit that out of the video, but what's the fun of that? It's fun to see what we do, what we don't do, how we fail, how we succeed. It's just, I don't know. I am just one for letting you see it all raw and real. So now we're gonna have to back stitch that since yeah, there we go. Another thing that you can try when you see this coming is just opening it up that, and then make sure you do that manually with the foot when you do that, because you don't want the threads to have moved or gotten so tight that it breaks the thread. It's the only pain in the butt part is when you're doing, now when I'm making the book sleeves out of the foam, this doesn't happen because the foam doesn't bunch up like this. So but for me, it's kind of easier most of the time just to move it like that. And then you want to feel the bottom one every once in a while to make sure that you have it all caught. And of course, we're going to check it once we're all finished with the sewing part to make sure we don't have any holes in our seams where maybe we didn't catch all the fabric. Some people use tweezers. I just don't have any next to my desk right now, so I usually just come in here with the clipper, snip it a little bit. All right, now we're going to coming down to the end here where we're going to put one stitch in, do a back stitch, bring the stitch back in, push the needle into keeping the presser foot down right at that second, and then, I don't know, can you guys see this? I don't even know if you're being able to see that needle. I might have to change the position of the, anyway, so you want to make sure that your presser foot is down, and then you're going to turn everything this way, right? And now we're going to, maybe if we pull it back more, you can see better. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to go all the way across. This one doesn't seem, when you're going across the batting, it doesn't bunch up like it does when you're going forward, or like across, up and down, I mean. Now we're coming to the next end. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do a back stitch, then we're going to come in, push the needle down manually, lift the foot up, turn the foot. Now remember on this one, we talked about how I need to stay on this line. So I'm going to do that the best I can. And there we go. Both sides did it this time. That's doing it again. And sometimes it's just faster to pull it than it is to cut it. Now we're coming here. So this is going to be a little bit more where you might have to pull, you might have to make sure that this is taut, and sometimes you'll need to use two hands and just hold it here really good and go slow over here. Put the needle down, take the clip out, make sure that your seams are open if that's the way that you're doing, and then we're gonna get very close. We don't want it to bunch up. So I'm gonna, again, you see how the presser foot, I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that? It's hard for me to tell if you can see it or not from my, anyway, I might have to get lower next time. I'm trying to figure out how to do this the best. Anyway, the seam allowance is starting to go, the foot is going, if I just don't do anything, the foot is going to bunch it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my pressure foot and make sure that that thread, and I'm going to do it one more time, make sure that that thread, the fabric is underneath that presser foot, okay? And then I'm going to go across, and now here we're going to have to stretch a little bit. You can see if you start to bunch up a little bit, just take both sides of your fabric and don't stretch so much that it ruins the design or anything, but you can pull just a tiny bit to make it taut. And now we're just going to go down here, and we'll go almost to the end, of course. And we'll do the same thing, back stitch. Just make that nice strong seam. Push it in at that point, turn. And now remember we have this opening we want. So we are going to stop our stitching, but first I'm going to take out. Now you can, when you have straight pins like this, you can sew right over them, but I'm not going to in this case. And they shouldn't break your machine. So then, if you're putting them in the correct direction. And there we go. So, oh, it's kind of skinny. Oh well, oh well. I think I should still be able to pull it all out. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take this, let me push this back more so you can see. Now it's all been sewn all over there, right? And you have your little hole here. So now what we're gonna do is, and you wanna have like, let me get rid of some of these pins real quick so they don't fall down. You wanna get like a chopstick or something like that. I have a nice wooden chopstick. We eat with them a lot in our household. So we have tons of them, but these are nice. These are not the wooden kind you get from the restaurant. This is ones that we buy in Chinatown, but it has a nice dull point right there, but it also has this point here, which works. So whichever one you like. So what we're gonna, oh wait, before we do that, we wanna snip these edges a little bit, okay? So we're gonna just come in here and cut that so that way, we'll trim that just so that it makes a better finish. And we should do that the same thing up here, but we want to be careful up here that we're not going into the stitching because it's hard to see with the batting there. It gets hard to see. We shouldn't have to trim everything because what we do want to look for is make sure that all of my, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going through making sure that the threads were caught everywhere, that we don't have any place where they're missing, especially when you come up to this seam right here. Perfect. It looks really good. Let's check this side real quick. It's worth just taking that minute. Otherwise, you're going to be taking it all apart. So it's better to find out now where you can go back and stitch it or trim it or whatever you need to do. And right here, because you don't need it to be open for somebody when they're trying to put their book in there. Perfect. All right, so let's go back over here. See, I cut my, it's a good thing it didn't start bleeding, but it went right through the skin. You see that? I could feel the rough skin right there. So you know how you have layers of skin? And I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, but back in the day, we didn't have computers and stuff. We would take needles and sew our skin. Anyway, that's what that looks like. So now what we're going to do is just start taking the whole thing and start pushing it all in this way. And you want to take your time doing this. You don't want to force it. So just, be careful pulling it out. There's our little guy there. And we want to just keep pulling it out gently. So that way you're not ripping. You don't want to rip anything as you're doing this. So just take your time. And there it goes. I love this method because it's so much faster than having to sew two pieces like together first, like two separate things. And then, so now we have this done. And before we put in, so this is the part where this is the lining, right? And this part here, we're gonna take this after we use the chopstick and everything, but I'm just showing you. We're going to take this and then we're just going to sew this piece closed once. But before we do that, we want to go in with the chopstick and go down through that hole into the main part. And you see how it's not. So we want to push this all out. So we want to have all that pushed out nice. And I think I need to use the other side. Get in there really good. It gets stuck in the batting too. So this one here, yep, that's perfect. All right, see how nice that looks then? Oh yeah, that's very nice. This came out very good. So we'll come over here to the other side, do the same thing, push it all out, make sure you have the nice box there. There, take your time doing this part. Or rip through it or anything, and don't push hard, just be gentle and moving with, look how nice. Oh wow, that looks so good. Let me just work on this one just a tiny bit more. There we go. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we will sew this part. Now, because it's a lining, I don't really worry about it too much, but you could go and iron this down first. But you can also do it with your fingers. It's called finger pressing, and you can just finger press this, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I am going, oh wow, that's another thing. I like my stitch to be on 300. It keeps resetting to 250, and that's another thing I haven't learned how to reset it. So, and then what I do is when I'm sewing this section, I start where that seam is, okay? And then I do a little back stitch there real quick, and I sew as close to the fold as possible. And then you want to cater it out. So as I'm going through this and I can see that I'm coming to the end, I'm going to come off of the fabric like this. See that? So I'm coming off of the fabric this way. All right, now, oops, it needed a little bit more. I missed a piece. So let's just do that again. That's fine. We can just do a back stitch there just to make sure that I got that piece there, but I see a tiny bit of hold, so that's fine. We'll just start this again. We do a little tiny bit of back stitch, just one or two. There we go. Now let's go forward again. Ah, I felt it bunched up right there. So we have to fix that. I'll just use the clippers here and get rid of those extra threads. And it just kind of bunched up right there. It's not a big deal. You can just pull it out and then snip those. And if you need to sew over that again, you can. I'm not going to need to on that. I did pretty good. All right, so now here, oh, and I forgot to, so you want to make this one that I forgot to stick the chopstick in there. That's okay. You can do it with your fingers. So you just push this one here. And same with this one. I didn't do that. So this one we want to push out. But anyway, it's a lot easier if you're doing it with the chopsticks. So a long time ago, we would just sit there and do it like this. Like I used to make beauty pageant dresses for my daughters, and we never thought about using a chopstick in there. So anyway, let me get rid of these little guys here. There, that's good. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna push this back into the bag. Oh, that feels so good. It's beautiful too. Oh my gosh, it turned out so good. Look at this, isn't that beautiful? Wow. So that's the back, this is the front, and we sew the button right here, and that's when you pull this guy over like this, see, to close it up. It goes over like this. So we'll have to put the button up pretty high on this one. Next time I'll have to make that a little bit longer. I just wanted to make sure. Now we're gonna make this stronger by top stitching. And when we stop stitch this piece here, we're gonna go over it back and forth a few times just to really make sure. Now the next thing you wanna do now is you're gonna wanna roll this in. And remember, we ironed this really good already, but we've got the side seams here. So the side seams, you're probably gonna wanna go back. I'm probably gonna go and press it one more time, but we're gonna come here, and then we're going to just keep turning it over, okay? Let's make sure it turned out nice and straight. It did. Oh, it came out so nice. So what we're going to do is I'm gonna take it over to the iron. Then I'm gonna come back, and now I just wanna show you how I'm going to do the top stitch without like doing it right now. Because if you have, so I have this thing here for my Bernina machine that goes, you know, it's the plate that goes like this across your machine. Well, I take that off when I'm doing these sleeves. When I'm quilting, I have that on. Because this way, when you're doing your top, you can just go, if you have the skinny arm like this, you can just go like this. So when you're top stitching, you can do one of two things. You can just do like a 1/4 of an inch or however many big of a stitch you want, top stitch you want. But to make it even firmer, is I recommend and if you don't want this rolling up, I recommend starting at like really small stitch, like maybe 1/4 inch, and then go back the second time and do like maybe 1/2 inch or something like that, because that also will help you get this little piece stuck in 2 times. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go press this. I'm going to come here. I'm not going to show you the part where I'm top stitching because the video is taking too long, and I'll show you the finished product. And here is the finished book sleeve. This is really cute. So this is the back. This came out really, really nice. I needed to use the work on the chopstick effect a little bit because it's just a tiny bit, could have been pushed up a little bit more there. Yeah, that's just the place where it just needs to be a little bit more. So here's the fastener. So you pull this off. I put the button on. So here I top stitched, so you can see this on the inside. I top stitched really close to the edge first to hold it down, and then I did another one about 5/8 of an inch more in the back, so that way we could really keep this down really well, so it won't come off. It's really strong. If it ever does come off, all you have to do is use a seam ripper and just take off some of the thread and stick another one in there and sew it back. So that's a pretty good fix for something like that. It's probably a lot easier than trying to replace a snap. Anyway, I love the way this turned out. Let's get my journal. Let's put my journal in here. I'm probably going to like this better. Oh yeah, I like this much better, even though now this one, let's get the finished size now. Let's look at what after all the sewing and everything, this one came out to be 9, a little bit over 9, maybe 9.5. No, not quite 9.5. And these are always approximate because you just never know with the seam allowance and such. And then the bottom, it's 11.25. So this is considered a large. And for me, it's more like a medium, but this is considered a large by standards. So I love this. Oh my gosh. And now I don't need the bump. Watch. I have my pens here that I want to do. I bet you anything that they can go in like a little sideways there. Not quite, but almost. But anyway, yeah, so it's a lot nicer. I could stick 2 books in here, so I could put my journal and then maybe a book that I'm reading or something. I like this. Now let's take the bigger book and see if it fits a large book. So actually, where's another book? This one's a little bit too big. Trying to figure out where there's one, besides having to leave you for a long time to go in another room to get a book. Or maybe there's something that looks like a book around here that I could use. Oh, I actually have that crocheting book. We can use this one. All right, so this is not a big book. Oh, this would fit. Obviously this will fit. So this would fit along with other things, but this one would need like let me see how this fits into this guy here. So this fits perfect into this one here that I showed you in the beginning. That's a perfect size for a book, and that fits over good. So that's good. So this book here, like that. I wanted to get a fatter book though that could go in here without me taking too long off camera to go look for it for you. Geez, I'm just trying to think. I don't have any. I have to go to another room. Oh, but I have something we can pretend is a book. This is going to be a little bit bigger than my journal, a little fatter than the journal. This is what the journal comes in, but you can see it's bigger. So let's see how this fits in there. Oh, nice. This one fits so nice. Look at that. Let's put this over the button over there. Very nice. This one is very nice. Now, so you can go bigger. I guess that's why they call it a large. But if you want to be patient with me, I will go find one more book that is more like somebody reading a business book or such. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. So for the smaller, I'm back. for the smaller sleeves, we'll try this book. So this is considered a large book because it's fat here, right? So let's look at I think this is going to be perfect for me. So this is like one and not quite 1.5 inches. And then this is 6.5 that way, like just say 10 that way. And let's see if this one, because of the fatness of it, will fit perfectly. So this is kind of like a hardback book that you might be bringing with you places and want to read. So by the way, super good book. But this is nice. Look at that. Let's see how this closes up nicely. Oh yes, I really like this. This is nice. The button could have been done a little bit lower, but it's fine. I really like this. Now, another thing I could do is I could sew pockets if I'm not quilting. So this has been quilted. It's hard for you to tell because it's, but this was quilted. But if I use the foam on one, then I can put, because you don't want to put a pocket over quilting because then you lose the effect of the quilting. So I could put a little pocket. I think I'm going to try that next, adding it. But I love this size. And I like this size here. So these are the two sizes that I really like. This one, let's look at this one. Yeah, see, I don't like this one so much. I think I'm wasting I'm wasting yardage there. And yeah, this is one that I bought from, so this was a side one. I bought a pattern for that and I tried the pattern first, but then what you do is you just keep altering the patterns. And I says, no, I didn't like it. So I changed it around. And I followed her directions on this one. I didn't really like those directions. I really love the directions on this one. So I kind of just worked and worked until I made my own. But for this one here, oh my gosh, it's so cute. So I love this. And this has the black inside. This one has the little witches, which I would rather make this the book sleeves for this. So now I need to make a small one. And then I guess I need to make, this is considered large. I'm going to, actually, I don't know that I will make, well, the small ones could be for Kindle sleeves, and e-readers. But I want to make let me look at something here. Large one, let's see, from another one. Let's look at this real quick. Large one was 8.5, and this one is a 9. This was 11.5, and this is 11. So it's pretty much right on. I think that's perfect. I won't need to, yeah, I like this pattern. I like the way that I developed it. This is great. I will make as many of these as I can with this hair tie with elastic closure. And then I'll make some with some snaps and see how that goes. The medium, let's see what this one was. For a medium was 7.5, which is perfect, what people are making. And 10, yeah, this is a perfect medium. So perfect medium and a perfect large. I might make some smalls for just the Kindle sleeves, or maybe someone has a little paperback. I just like that there's a little bit more, I don't know, oomph to it. Do you know what I mean? Oh my gosh. So let me show you real quick the other fabrics that I have. And they're right here. Let me just grab them. Okay, so you saw the purple one. So I got I have plenty of lining. So this is the really pretty webs. This is for my Halloween collection this year. So these will be in my Everfey shop, which is my FAIRYCORE shop and mythical shop. So I'm working on doing some art prints of some mythical creatures and stuff, which people really like from mythology. But I'm still learning how to do those, painting and learning the design and all that stuff. So anyway, this one, I didn't buy a lot of this because it was rather expensive and I didn't know how well I would love it. I love it. Then these are bats. So I don't have a lot of this either. This one I think they ran out of, so this might have to be a limited edition. But hopefully I'll be able to make all these and get them. My goal is to have all my Halloween stuff on my Everfey shop before the end of July. Now, if you want phone cases, those are on my Phone Foundry shop on Etsy, and the Halloween ones are already there. But this is beautiful. I love this. It's so cute. And then that with, okay, so then that with this for the lining, right? And so I'll be able to get some out of that. And then you have the purple, which I have a lot more of. And that was on sale, so I got a lot of that. And then that with the black, which is going to look really sharp. And then the witches. I love this. They're so cute. Look at the little tiny, but I just don't know which way they go. That's the only thing. It's hard to know which way the ladies are flying. Here's their hat. Here's the broom. So I guess they're going this way. And then here's, and that will be the lining for that. So I have this collection. This is going to be like this. The witches with the cats, the bats, and the spiders. And I think that's going to be very... I'm not looking for orangey. I'm not looking for baby. This is for adults. So, you know, I wanted it to be a very mature kind of theme, but still fun. So there we go. So look how I'm so happy for this. I'm really, really happy how this turned out. See you on the next video.